my god.
Before watching the video, can you please save a little bit time to like and subscribe to SkypluS have mover to increase?
Flydubai Flight 981 was a scheduled international passenger flight from Dubai, United Arab Emirates, to Rostov-on-Don, Russia. With a flight length of 1,740 miles, it will take about 3 hours and 50 minutes to fly. On March 19, 2016, the Boeing 737-800 aircraft operating the flight crashed during a go-around second. Flydubai is an Emirati state-owned low-cost carrier with its hub in Dubai. Flydubai was founded and commenced operations in 2009 and expanded rapidly. By the end of 2015, it flew to over 100 destinations, including 11 in Russia, with its entire fleet consisted of Boeing 737-800s. The airline had no previous fatal accidents and had an excellent safety record. In 2015, Flydubai passed the safety audit of the IATA, and several days before the crash had become an official member of the organization. The aircraft involved was a 5-year-old Boeing 737-8KN, registered as A6 FDN, and was powered by two CFM International CFM56-7B27 engines. Its first flight occurred on December 21, 2010, and it was delivered to Flydubai on January 24, 2011. The aircraft had passed a C-grade maintenance check on January 21, 2016. The plane, which carried enough fuel for 8.5 hours of flight, had been flying for 6 hours prior to the crash. The captain was 37-year-old Aristos Socrates from Cyprus, who had over 6,000 hours of total flying time, including 4,905 hours on the Boeing 737. Socrates was promoted to captain a year and a half before the crash. At the time of the crash, he had intended to quit the airline after accepting a job from Ryanair that would allow him to be based with his family in Cyprus. His wife was due to give birth to their first child a few weeks after the crash. The first officer, 36-year-old Alejandro Cruz Alava from Spain, had more than 5,700 hours of flying time, with 1,100 on the Boeing 737. He began work with Flydubai in 2013 and had previously flown for two regional airlines in the Spanish Canary Islands, Binter Canarias and NAYSA, before joining the airline. The accident flight was both pilots' first ever flight to Rostov. Flight 981 was scheduled to depart from Dubai International Airport at 21:45 Gulf Standard Time (UTC+4) on March 18, 2016 and arrive at Rostov-on-Don Airport at 1:20 Moscow Standard Time (UTC+3) the next day. It departed from Dubai after a 35-minute delay at 22:20 Gulf Standard Time. The meteorological conditions at Rostov-on-Don Airport were described as adverse. The cloud base was at 2,070 feet, with light rain showers and a haze. The wind velocity was 25 knots, 47 kilometers per hour, gusting to 35 knots, 65 kilometers per hour, with severe turbulence and moderate wind shear on the final approach course. When Flight 981 arrived at the initial fix to begin the approach to Rostov-on-Don, two other flights had landed during the previous 20 minutes. The captain had experience flying into other Russian airports, but the first officer did not. An alert from Flight 981's onboard wind shear warning. Wind shear is a dangerous phenomenon in aviation, especially during takeoff and takeoff. This is the phenomenon of wind currents constantly changing direction. The most dangerous is the wind blowing from the nose of the plane and suddenly changing direction from the tail. Due to the dangerous wind shear warning ahead, the crew decided to abort the landing to try to land again a second time. While Flight 981 was holding awaiting improvement to the weather, Aeroflot Flight 1166 made 3 unsuccessful attempts to land and then diverted to nearby Krasnodar Airport, landing there at 2:59. Nearly 2 hours later, during the crew's second approach to runway 22, the airspeed suddenly increased by 23 knots, 43 kilometers per hour, an indication that the aircraft had encountered wind shear, and again the crew initiated a go-around. In contrast to the first go-around, the pilots retracted the landing gear and reduced the flap setting. This caused the nose to pitch up significantly, and the captain attempted to counter the force with considerable effort on the control column. The captain pressed the nose-down trim switch, but continued to push the control column as well. This caused the aircraft to pitch down and enter a 45-degree descent.
500, 400, approaching minimums.
Airspeed low. Airspeed low.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, gear.
Pull up.
At 3:42, it crashed onto the runway near the threshold and caught fire. Pieces of the aircraft were strewn across runway 22 following the impact. All 62 people on board, consisting of 55 passengers and 7 crew members, were killed in the crash. Of the passengers, including 4 children, were Russian citizens. The Russian Investigative Committee opened an investigation into possible safety violations leading to the crash. On March 20, 2016, both flight recorders were recovered from the crash site and delivered to the Interstate Aviation Committee in Moscow. On March 29, 2016, the IAC announced that preliminary analysis of information from the flight recorders showed no evidence of the failure of any aircraft systems, engines, or other components.
Caution.
Surveillance cameras at the airport showed the aircraft flying down in a very steep angle before it crashed into the ground, and very early on, pilot error and a mysterious illusion known as Somoto Gravic illusion was suspected to be a part of the cause of the accident. Somoto Gravic illusion is what modern flight simulators are using in order to trick the pilots into believing that they feel an acceleration or deceleration when, in fact, the simulator is only pitching. It is the inability of the human balance organs in the inner ear to distinguish between an acceleration and a pitch with lack of external visual references. During a go-around maneuver, an aircraft goes through both a pitch-up to gain altitude as part of the missed approach and an acceleration to speed the aircraft up and enable flap retraction. This can lead to a sensation of an extreme pitch-up as those two factors combine. If the pilots are not aware of this sensation and don't monitor the instrumentation, they can fall victim of this illusion and try to pitch the aircraft forward in order to escape the perceived high-pitch attitude. This can lead to a sudden pitch down of the aircraft at low altitude. On November 26, 2019, the IAC published its final report, which stated the cause as a combination of incorrect aircraft configuration, pilot error, and the subsequent loss of the pilot in command's situational awareness in nighttime storm conditions. The go-around procedure with retracted landing gear and flaps but with the maximum available thrust consistent with the wind shear escape maneuver, combined with the lightness of the aircraft, led to the excessive nose-up attitude.
Airspeed low. Airspeed low.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, gear.
Pull up.
In light of the disaster, Rostov Oblast Governor Vasily Golyabev announced that the government would pay 1 million rubles, about $15,000, to the families of the victims. The day after the crash, March 20th, was designated as a day of mourning in the region. Flydubai compensated the victims' families $20,000. During the investigation, the entire B-737 in Russia was also banned from flying due to suspected rudder error from Boeing.
Thank you for watching the video. If you have an idea of flight, please comment below to everyone discuss.